Hello, welcome to Super Fast Comic Book Reviews. I'm Jason, and this is my weekly comic book review video where I try and take 90 seconds or less to review each book. I will outline the things I liked, the things I didn't like, and I will also give it a rating out of 5 stars. Also, I will be do my pick of the week, which is the book I enjoyed most this week, and I will also do my geek out moment of the week, which is basically that moment that had the most impact. Whether it's an emotional moment, or whether it's just a return of a character in a book or a page or some art, just the moment that really impacted me the most this week. That's what we got. So coming up today. So let's get on with the reviews. First up, we have Green Arrow issue 18, and this is the Green Arrow I wanted from the beginning of the New 52. It has been fantastic. I love the overall mystery that they are building, the way that it all links back to Emerson and to Oliver Queen's father, and the island, and how he's bringing all that into it. There's a lot of similarities between this and the TV show, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. People, if they've watched the TV show and decide to give the book a go, it'll feel familiar to them because there are a lot of the same kind of things with the Dark Archer, having ties to Oliver's father and all. It does have a lot of the same vibe, and like I say, that's a good thing. I really enjoyed the art once again in this issue. Andrea Sorrentino done a great job. It was interesting to see this issue we got a colorist instead of Sorrentino doing the art and the colour. And I think that worked a lot better, having a separate colorist. I did like the colour better in this issue than the previous one. But all in all, this has been a great book, and I'm really enjoying it. I just don't know what's going to happen next in it, and I'm enjoying that. And, like I say, this is what we wanted from the start, and I give Green Arrow issue 18 5 stars. Next up, we have Age of Ultron book 1, and this was a book I was going to pick up because it was an event book, and I was going to try out the first couple of issues, see what it was like. But I wasn't really excited about it. But then I saw the cover. It is a chrome cover, then bringing back the 90s. It's a lovely wrap around cover that sort of sets the story up, and you've got, if you can see in his head there, you can see he's got Hawkeye in his reflection. So yeah, this was my geek out moment of the week when I saw this cover. I loved it, and it made the whole presentation of how they laid this book out. You see with the inside, and then we go through to the first page. It felt special. It felt like an event, and that got me excited for the book. The story inside reminds me a lot of Age of Apocalypse, which is one of my favourite storylines that they ever did, in the way that we're thrown straight into the action. We ain't given like how this came about. We're just thrown straight into action, following our, what looks to go and be our main character, Hawkeye, as he's trying to save Spiderman. And we sort of get the status quo of this world without really knowing where this story's going to go next. We're just really introduced to the world, and then the story's done. And I liked that. It got me excited. I want to see more of this world. I want to see how this world came to be, and I want to see where they're going to take the story and how ultimately they're going to win back the Earth. So all in all, I was really surprised with this, and I would give it 5 stars. Next up, we have Superman issue 17, and if I was doing like one-word reviews, the word for this one would be disappointing. I followed the whole Hell on Earth story for 5 months. I don't know how much money I've sunk into following it. I enjoyed the beginning. I thought that was good. The middle, I thought they dragged it out too much, and the last few issues have been really strong building up to this. But this issue was just so disappointing. It says on the cover, as you can see, it says conclusion. But I left this series still not knowing who Hal was. Was he telling the truth? Was he Kryptonian? Was he sent by Jor-El? Or was all of that fantasy? I don't get it. Cause the way they sort of built it up with Supergirl not remembering the stuff he was going on about was that either the guy's delusional, either the guy's got implanted memories, or he's from a parallel universe or something. But no, we don't get no answers to none of those questions. We don't know who he is. We don't know what the deal with the inverted S on his chest. We don't know what the deal is with how come he's got more powers than Superman if they're both Kryptonian. And this whole character, the Oracle, he just ends up being a voyeur who likes watching worlds get destroyed. So yeah, I was very disappointed. The only saving grace for me was I did enjoy the art. I thought that was, like I've always said, Kenneth Rocafort draws beautiful people beautifully, and he does again in here, and I really think he's suited to this book. But yeah, I was just really disappointed. A very dissatisfactory conclusion after you've been following a story for 5 months. The end, the twist at the end, yeah, that kind of makes you intrigued what's going to happen next, but I'm not sure. I haven't looked at, I want to pick up a Superman book every month, but having seen the preview of Andy Diggle and Tony Daniels' Action Comics, I think I'm going to try that one out and just give this one a miss. Love Kenneth Rocafort on art, but the story just didn't do it for me, and I give Superman issue 17 2 stars. Next up we have the Avengers issue number 7. I love Hickman's epic story, and this story still feels really epic. I sometimes think, like, if he wrote one of those big event books, considering how his regular books feel epic, how epic would an event book feel that he done? But yeah, the scale in this one is brilliant. I like that they're introducing the new universe characters. I remember them from when I first got into comics as a kid. I can remember them all: Starbrand, there was Spitfire and the Troubleshooters, Cyforce, Night Mask, and there was one called Justice. So I remember all of those characters, and I like that they're bringing them into this. That's really cool, and I'm really curious to see, are they going to become Avengers, or are they going to be something separate? I still don't quite comprehend what the White Event is. All I know is it's bad. But the thing for me when I read Hickman books is it can sometimes take 2 or 3 readings for everything to really sink in, which I don't mind, because that means I'm getting my money's worth from a book if I'm having to read it that many times to really grasp it. I don't mind that. I actually prefer that than something that you could just read and then just throw away. It's great when you've got a book that you can keep going to and get something, or get a deeper understanding from every time you read it. I love the introduction of the new character in this issue. It would lead these random scenes that are going on while the story's going on that come together at the end, which I really like that device. We got a new artist on this issue in Dustin Weaver, and I thought he was a good addition to the book, and I liked his art. And all in all, this is still a really strong book, and I'm really enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to seeing where Hickman goes with this. And I give Avengers issue number 7 5 stars. Next up we have issue 18 of Swamp Thing, and this is my pick of the week. I absolutely love this book. This was the perfect conclusion. If you add in the annual and the 0 issue, it's been like 20 issues we've been following this story, and this was the perfect conclusion to that story. It felt like an end, like a conclusion, and while there were still little bits left that you can follow on with in future stories, it did round off this story nicely, and I liked that there was an end to the journey that we've been following for nearly 2 years. So yeah, I like that a lot, and I give it a massive thumbs up for that. It also proved there were a lot of people saying that Scott Snyder couldn't write endings to stories because they were dissatisfied with his 2 Batman stories and how they ended. But I think this issue shows, yeah, Scott Snyder can write a fantastic ending. I also really like that they got Yannick Paquette back on art. It hasn't been a regular artist on this book for ages, he hasn't, but he was there at the beginning, and it's nice that he's there at the end of Snyder's run as well. The book is it's sad and tragic. It's like Shakespearean level tragedy in this, but it was just I just was really satisfied when I put it down. It did make me weep, and I was really, heartbroken for Swampy, but at the same time, I was satisfied as a reader when I put this down, and this is one I'm going to keep getting. I'm going to try out the new writer, see what he's like, because I really like the character of Swamp Thing, and it's going to be interesting where they go next. And yeah, this is my pick of the week, and I give it 5 stars. Oh yeah, next up we have Animal Man, issue 18, and I've got to admit, I loved the cover, but I was a bit disappointed with what happened in this story. It left me with more questions than answers, and you know, this was supposed to be the conclusion to this story. Now I think where Swamp Thing done it right was that, yeah, you had bits that were left there so the story can continue, but at the same time you felt that the story you've been following was resolved, was finished. In this, it's like the next issue in the series, and the story carries on. The story will carry on. The events of the story will carry on to the next issue, and it just didn't feel like a conclusion to me. And after following it for 20 issues, I wanted a bit more closure, a bit more of a conclusion. And so yeah, that left me a bit unsatisfied. I enjoyed the art. I thought it was really cool seeing Maxine use her powers. The whole tragic event at the end of the book, I kind of felt was because you knew from the cover that something bad was going to happen, and then the way it's written in his inner thoughts, his inner monologue, sorry, I kind of guessed what was going to happen, and then when you see what happens while he's fighting the hunters, I kind of was seeing that, and I thought, yeah, this isn't going to end. I can see what's coming here. So we kind of took that a bit, kind of a shock away from me, where with Swamp Thing, what happens in that, just, I did not see coming and just totally threw me. With this, you could see it more developing a bit easier. This is the last issue I'm going to get of Swamp Thing. I mean, sorry, of Animal Man. Still got Swamp Thing on the brain. This is the last issue of Animal Man I'm going to pick up. I've enjoyed it, but I just feel that, you know, there's other books I want more, and I've only got so big a budget, so this is one of the books that's going to be a casualty of that, and so this will be the last issue. It's a shame I was left a bit unsatisfied with the end, but I've enjoyed the ride, and I would give Animal Man issue 18 3 stars. Next up we have Bedlam issue 5, and I love that cover. I think that's one of the best covers they've done on the series so far. This book's still surprising me. 5 issues in, and every time I think I've sussed out the direction we're going in, Nick Spencer just turns the car around and drives me in the other direction. And it's great, you know, there's twists and turns all the while. This issue just takes a totally different, like I say, different track than I thought, but it's brilliant. I love the art as well. I like the way it's coloured, so that like the flashbacks are like kind of like black and white and red, where the main book is coloured more traditionally, but it isn't a very bright book. It's quite dark in the way that the palette they use. I like the artist. I've not really seen anything of Riley Rossimo, but I like the way he makes the characters feel a bit kind of manic, because like our lead character Fillmore is a bit manic, and I like that sort of the whole spirit of that is conveyed through the art for me. There's a fantastic twist at the end of this one, and I get deeper and deeper into this book every time I read it. It's become one of my firm favourites on my list of books I get every month, and one of the ones I just can't wait for the next issue now, because every issue I get more involved with the character and want to see what happens, and I'm really enjoying this. Really recommend when they bring out the trade of the first 6 issues to pick that up, because it's been a fantastic book, and I give it 5 stars. Next up we have Earth 2 issue 10, and I really love this issue. It's so great to have Nicola Scott back on art. She's doing such a fantastic job in this book, especially the Tower of Fate. I don't know how well. I'm going to show you this because it's just, to me, the best double page. Just spread of the week. But you know, you look at our characters walking around this Tower of Fate, and it's like, it's just brilliantly realised by her. Looking at it, I can't even get my head around it, looking at it, let alone how you'd plan it out to draw it. So yeah, I'm really enjoying Nicola Scott's art on this book, and she's doing a fantastic job. I really like how Jay Garrick, the Flash, is written. He comes across as a real likeable character. You know, even though he's over his head, he still stands up and became to try and save the day. And I think that's the measure of a true hero, you know, that they stand up in situations where it would be so easy not to stand up. And you know, I just really like how Robertson writes his character. It was great to see a bit of the origin of Hawkgirl and Khalid, and how he first became Dr. Fate, and their links to the World Army. I've explored a little bit more. It's also great to see the Green Lantern dealing with his husband's death, and the revelations that brings. I really like that seems to be pushing the story as well. So all in all, I'm really enjoying this book. I'm loving the world that James Robertson is creating, and I want to see more of it, and I give Earth 2 issue 10 5 stars. Next up we have Planet the Apes, Cataclysm, issue number 7. I enjoyed this issue. I would say it was the weakest one of the series so far. The story's still moving forward, but not as quick as in previous issues, so it feels quite slow. If the story advances at all, it's quite slow. It's great seeing the beginnings of all these characters that we know from the original films, and like in this book you've got Dr. Zaius, who wants to share what's going on with all the apes, where in the films he's kind of like, he wants to keep it from everyone because it would cause panic. And so like, I'm really going to be interested to see the journey his character goes on that changes him from where he's at now and to where we know he'll become. I'm hoping we'll get answers next issue to a lot of the questions I've got about the events of this issue and the previous issue. Certainly with the mutant apes, it doesn't seem as how we first thought it was set up, and sort of the way the issue ends certainly makes it look like, no, they're not the masters here. So I'm looking forward to finding out some answers to that. I still enjoyed the issue. It was still a good read, which, you know, and I particularly like the stuff with the chimpanzees and the whole civil rights thing that's going on there. So I kind of really like that, because I think all great science fiction always has, on some level of it, some social commentary. You know, you look at Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, you know, the new one, or Babylon 5. There's always a little bit of social commentary in there, and there is in this with the whole orangutan civil rights thing. But yeah, I'm still enjoying it. It wasn't as strong as previous issues, but I'd give it 4 stars. Well, next up we have the Superior Spider-Man, issue number 5, and I've got to say, I've really been surprised by this series and how much I've enjoyed it. I'm loving seeing Dr. Octopus and his whole different approach to being Spider-Man, and even Peter Parker sort of having to sit back and say, wait, why didn't I ever think of that? And it's great that the differences, because like Dr. Octopus approaches everything in his life like a scientist. He approaches it logically, and he breaks down how best to get the result they want, what they need to do to get that result, and how to get it most effectively. Where Peter was much more emotional and dealt with his emotions, and though he was a genius, he didn't always think things through. He would just deal with what was there, and was a very emotional person in that way. And so I'm really enjoying seeing them differences. I think Dan Slott's got the balance about right between the Ghost Peter and between letting Dr. Octopus have his moment to shine as Peter Parker. I like the introduction where we have a new character gets introduced this issue, which I'm really interested to see how that develops with her and with the Dr. Octopus Peter Parker. So that I enjoyed that. The major happenings at the end of this issue, 2 big things happen, and I kind of love the twist that we've got on the whole power responsibility thing, and you know, I really like how Dr. Octopus has sort of twisted that, and it's a fantastic end to the story. Always enjoy Giuseppe Camuncoli on art. when he did Amazing Spider-Man, it was always, I preferred him to Ramos. Just a personal preference, and I'm glad that he's still on the book. I like the story Slott is telling, and you can see him laying things out for the whole Fired storyline. You can see the events beginning to wind. The wheels are winding and turning, and you can see things developing to where we would go down that road. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying this book. If you've jumped off Spider-Man because you hated issue 700, this is well worth giving it a go. Some big things happen in this issue, and you know, it's going to take the character back to being regarded as a menace eventually. But yeah, I think this is the beginning of something really good, and I'm really enjoying it, and I give it 5 stars.